to the Web3 Prof Podcast.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I'm here with Calder Moore, who is the creator of In Search Of, as well as Dusko, who is, well, not just your average sound guy, but a guy who does sound. Thanks for being with me here today, guys.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So let's first get into just hearing a little bit about who you guys are and what you do. Dusko, let's start with you. Tell us about, you're a sound guy, but what does that actually mean? What do you do professionally?
What does it mean? I've been doing it for a long time, maybe like 20 years nonstop. So sleeping in school and then playing bass guitar. I wasn't doing sound engineering at first. I was just playing bass, learning like Rush licks, Pantera licks, Rex Brown, Flea, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Moved out here and then formed a band. And then that band brought it up to get approached by Bob Rock, who did Metallica's Load and Reload. And then it was at that point where I was really thinking about it. I'm like, do I want to drop the money on this? Do we want to continue with this project? And then I said, nay. And then I went and...
You broke up the band?
Yep. Picked up a computer and then too many democratic decisions that were the wrong way.
Yeah.
I like had a blue man like approach us to record a song.
Blue Man, like the Blue Man Group?
Yeah, the Blue Man Group.
That's so good.
Yeah, I was like, let's do this. No, they didn't want to do it. And then and then there was like a movie deal. So it was some song that they did not want to play because it was like pop punk. They didn't like pop punk. But it was like $32,000 when it came to equipment rentals and like 3 days of performing the same song over and over again. That would have paid for the Bob Rock recording.
Yeah.
Didn't want to do it. So I was like, okay, I got to do my own thing, which was amazing. Picked up the computer and never looked back because you've got like an orchestra at your fingertips.
Right.
Yeah, so did electronic music for a while there. Made a sound bank with Warp Academy. I don't know if you've heard of them. They do educational stuff. The owner of Warp, they're from the island. Owner of Warp Academy does like, he gets lessons from like the vocal engineer that worked on Adele's stuff. So anytime he speaks, I listen, basically. Right. So he's doing like a mastering workshop for free right now on YouTube. It's incredible. Yeah, and then from there, got into post-production, jumped into game audio, and NFTs.
NFTs found you.
Yeah, it's been great.
So, Calder, as a digital artist, tell us a little bit about your journey into working into NFTs.
Yeah, so since I was like able to hold a freaking pencil, I was always drawing and stuff, and I've always kind of had like just an insane passion for creating art and shit. And then like through high school, I was always like just like taking every artistic class / computer class I could take. One of them was actually a 3D class. That was like the first time they had it at my high school, and I took it and absolutely fell in love with it. But after that, I kind of fell into a construction job just because I was in like small town Salmon Arm where there's nothing out there, and I needed money.
Just houseboats on a lake.
Yeah, houseboats, wine, or like you're in like logging, which like all my hometown friends like ended up diving into is logging or construction. And so that's what I fell into as well, was a construction gig where I did that for 4 years before. It was kind of like a weird, I don't want to say like happy accident, but I was like, I got laid off, and then I also got like rear-ended that same week and totaled my car and got whiplash and like kind of like injured me to a point where I wasn't able to go back to work for a little bit until after I had like recovered.
Yeah.
Even if I wasn't like laid off anymore for like the spring sort of stint where you can't really do construction.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm kind of bored out of my mind doing this kind of job and want to switch it up. So I built a little bit of a portfolio and applied to Center of Arts and Technology in Kelowna. Got in, moved out there for 2 years with my girlfriend, now wife. Went through that. And then ended up getting a job down here in Vancouver, which is kind of like another perfect timing with my wife, where she went down here to go to school. So it was kind of like pretty much a switch where I did my training and got into the field. And then now she did her training and now she's in like her field now for the last like 5 years. But got in at Nerdcore doing junior modeling for like preschool TV shows like Blazing Monster Machines and stuff like that. Worked my way up to a lead position in like 4 years or so, and then like over like 8 years in the industry, around like local studios, around like Icon, DHX, like well, it was like Nerdcore, then it changed to DHX, and then they changed to Wildbrain, and then was at Atomic for a couple of years, and then I actually went into gaming for a couple of years before I kind of discovered NFTs and this sort of digital medium where digital artists can kind of have their art valued in a way that traditional oil painters and stuff had their art valued as.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. When do you think, or what year was it when you started to learn about NFTs?
I actually did another, and now I remember I did another podcast with, I think they're called Brocast or something like that.
That sounds like a podcast name, Brocast.
I forget, not Brocaster. It was like something where it's like they talk about like motion graphics and stuff, and they have a lot of other like artists in the industry. Brograph, yeah.
Oh, Brograph.
Brograph or something like that. Or yeah. And they were actually, that was like when Beeple was just starting to sell his stuff as NFTs, and I was, from what I seen on the outside, I was like, this is for like kind of like big names and like celebrities to like sell their art, and it's kind of like, I don't want to say like a gimmick, but just like another avenue for them to like, I don't know, earn money from people.
and you at that time as an artist, you didn't have a name at that point, is that right?
Yeah, I had like a little bit of a name just for people just like liking my art. I think I had like some prints sold on like Society 6 or like something like that, maybe ArtStation at the time. But at the time I just kind of like didn't really think too much about it. And then it was like October of 2021, my buddy Swamp Baron DMs me on Instagram. He's like, yo, dude, you have to like come over here. Like, this is like such an unreal like community space where you like digital artists can like actually start to earn a living off of their art kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so he helped onboard me and like set me up and stuff, and like introduced me into a few like Twitter groups and stuff like that, and it just like took off. Absolutely like fell in love with the community and like the fact that there was like a space for artists to kind of get together and like actually communicate with each other on like anything deeper than like a surface level, which was like always what was happening before, like in like ArtStation or Instagram and stuff. I've always felt like it was always super dry and just surface level, and then diving into that community, everyone is like super helpful, super friendly, and like it just blew my mind. Gave me just like so much artistic drive to just like want to make digital art again.
Cool.
Because like before that, I was kind of going through like a bit of like a creative rut where I felt like I was just kind of like going through the motions, not really like doing anything in particular, just kind of like making art for the sake of like creating content, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Dusko, what was it for you that got you into NFTs? Was it your guys' relationship, or had you been into NFTs prior to meeting each other?
I was in NFTs prior, and it was amazing. I came in late as well. I was just like experimenting with different like videos. People would make videos, animations, and I'd be looking at kind of like the texture and processing of it, and then seeing how that would translate to sound, like hearing motion synesthesia.
Sorry, say that again?
Hearing motion synesthesia.
Okay.
Because when you're in a treated studio, it's like you're kind of making sound in a three-dimensional space in front of you. So you've got width, and you've got height, and you've got depth, and you can control it. So I was getting really into controlling it to match whatever was on the screen. So if something went to the right and back, I would be manipulating the sound so it would sound and feel like, from my perspective, it would go back and to the right. And then Ethereal Zephyr, that was part of this glitch art community convergence, brought me in because I just happened to work on some of his pieces through like an electronic music, like an underground electronic music moguls logo stingers.
I don't know what any of those words mean.
Arcade, Drizzly, Arcade in Kelowna. A lot of artists stop by on their way to Shambhala and stuff like that. So he had been in NFTs and he was like, come on. So we did one and he's like, here's this thing. And it was like just this glitchy thing called Redacted. So then the concept was, because I was making a wall of glitch. So it was really irritating, right? It was really very, very annoying and abrasive. And then it would just like stop the audio at some points because it's a redacted part of the audio. And then it made like, well, in Ethereum, the value in USD was like 2,500. And then we just rolled and we kept going and going and going, making as many NFTs as possible, working with as many artists as possible. And yeah, the community was amazing. Everybody wanted to connect. Everybody wanted to work together and make things together. Yeah. People that otherwise you never would have even talked to or worked with ever. And then there was all these artists making their own original pieces. So instead of contracting for like motion design for Nike or whatever, they would just make this thing that they always wanted to make, or they'd experiment with something, right? Where they're like, oh, I want to do cloth and I haven't done any cloth animations. So I'm going to do a whole piece of cloth animations and like textile practice and then sell it. Yeah. And then Christian Whitaker was the next person that I worked with. He's from Vancouver. Does a lot of work for Xbox and stuff like that. And he released pieces with crypto.com. So it'd be like a, textile experiment animation cycle, which was like an aquatic creature. He did a series of aquatic creatures that are made out of like different textiles. So sparkly and sequins and all this stuff. And they're floating through these dark spaces and the lighting was really cool off of the textiles. And yeah, those crypto.com pieces, they sold for a lot. And yeah, it was a beautiful thing. It was amazing.
So when you, as a audio engineer, for lack of a better term, that's what I'm going to call you, do you get paid for doing the project, or do you benefit from the success of the project if it, getting royalties off of resales, or is that really what is the benefit of the artist?
Royalties I never really got in on. We've done splits, and then the blockchain really helped with splits because it was automatic. We'd both connect our wallets, we'd decide on a split ahead of time, and then we'd do it. Yeah. I don't think many people got royalties. Like, that was a mechanic that everybody wanted, but it didn't work. I don't know how it went. Yeah,
for like one-of-one stuff, there are still like royalties enabled if like something does sell in secondary and shit. But yeah, there's like one blurred.io came out, all of a sudden like royalties were just like disappeared.
They really started competing on zero royalties, and then everybody kind of followed suit. I think like Magic Eden followed quickly, and then now it seems to be that it's like royalties are like an option. It's like a tip.
Unless you like mint your project in a certain way. NFTs or something like that. I forget what like the lingo is, but it's like kind of like a way to enforce royalties for your collections.
Right. Yeah. Are you mainly minting on Ethereum, or what chains do you primarily work on?
I started on Ethereum in October 21 and kind of found Solana in June 2022. And then went back and forth for, I guess, about like a year. And then lately I've just been mostly dropping on Solana just because it's like, I don't know, that seems to be where most of my active collectors / community is. And it's just so much easier to release NFTs on that ecosystem because of like gas prices and like the kind of cool features and shit it has for just like one-of-one artists to sort of use for their projects or
so you've moved primarily now to Solana. Can you just tell us a little bit about In Search Of? What is the idea behind this project that you've created?
Yeah, so In Search Of is like sort of like a dark, gritty sci-fi universe I created, which is like, I think it's like called an anthology built up of like a whole bunch of like small like short stories and stuff. And so it's kind of been something I've been working on for like the last like 5 or 6 or 7 years, I guess now time's been flying.
Yeah.
But I never really had like a name for it, but it's like everything I've kind of built in like my sci-fi kind of stuff has been for like this overarching project. And then yeah, when I joined Solana, I had sort of I guess like brought it into reality, like put like a proper name on it and like sort of like properly build out the lore for all the pieces and stuff. So I've kind of been dropping, it first started out as this like, I guess like 1-page releases. So it's like, it started out, yeah, I guess with like, sorry, I get like mixed up with my words. Sorry.
That's okay.
That's why I paint.
That's why, yeah.
Yeah, so it started off with just like these like retro sci-fi sort of like oil painting, like John Harris inspired pieces, where it's just like a ship flying over like different planets and stuff, and it's kind of like a bunch of different little situations where these ships have like gotten themselves into, where it's like them fighting nature to try to survive rather than like each other. That's something I guess you'll find a lot of my art is not really man versus man, just more like man versus nature, or like how man is kind of destroying nature and like just like the environment and everything around it, we're just like absolutely destroying. But yeah, it started out as like a bunch of like short little 1-pagers. Then I released Resolve, which was like a five-piece short story that kind of like goes through like these people going into this science lab and discovering that there's like a secret wing and there's like all these like bugs being manufactured for like war and shit. And then it was like I wanted to take the next step, and that was like I wanted to create more of like a bigger story within the In Search of universe. And that's when I sort of started building up what is now Substance, and that's where Dusko and I got together and started creating pieces together for this project. And it is about this guy named Lorne, how he's going through, I guess the story is more of like his self-destruction through his greed. And it kind of goes through him, I guess, yeah, like showing how he's kind of like this like con man who's kind of just like always out for that like next dollar or whatever, and he's just like kind of like a scummy piece. And
Yeah.
and as the story progresses, it slowly turns into a bit of like cosmic horror action and stuff, and we were kind of like playing that up so it's a little bit more like metaphorically, like that's like his greed like coming out, like that's like his horror that we're like seeing.
Right. How did you get into going from like a static image to these short video clips? Because typically NFTs historically, certainly in the beginning, they were just images, right? And you, from what I understand from your art, is a lot of like kind of short little films, which is really cool. And so how did you get into that aspect of NFTs?
I don't know. I think I just kind of like seen some people, I think his name was like OSF NFT, who had like this like glitchy art and stuff. I was like, oh shit, there's like a bit of an ecosystem for this like animated media kind of thing.
Cool, yeah.
And so I was like kind of like exploring with that.
Yeah, so that kind of opened your eyes to like the possibility of doing something like that, hey?
Yeah. And then like a lot of times for the tool I use, Cinema 4D, a lot of it is used for motion graphic art, or like just motion graphics for commercials and all that stuff like that. So a lot of the tutorials online are for creating like animations and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like took that idea and applied it to my art and like my style and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at a couple pieces of your art. First, we're going to look at this one. Do you want to give us a bit of an intro as to who this guy is, or is he the guy that you were just talking about?
Right. So
Is that Lorne?
this is these are the searchers, and these are like notable characters within the Substance story, and within like Vulture City, like the big city that takes place, or that the story takes place in.
Yeah.
And so this guy is just he's the artificer. He's just like my sort of alias within the project.
Okay.
He's like, yeah, a creepy dude. He lives underneath the city, and he's kind of like known for like cybernetically enhancing a lot of like other people down there and stuff like that.
Okay. Let's check this out.
Yeah. If it does.
That's pretty cool. What's the vision behind this? To me, it seems like you're building up to release like a full-length feature film.
I guess the idea is to build like sort of like a hybrid of comic book / short film. And in like the physical comic book form, we want to do it so it has like the AR capabilities, so you can like hold like your phone or your iPad up to it, and like the page will like play the animation that's set up for like that page or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
And hopefully have it so you can watch, say, like the full sequence together on YouTube or whatever, and like kind of like take it in that sort of medium.
Okay, very cool. I got another one here I want to show. Let's check this out.
That's one thing we've been trying to do, is like make it so everything like has like a nice seamless loop.
So it just keeps going for eternity.
Yeah. And then actually a few of those collectors have bought the like digital frames or whatever, and have like them just like looping on their wall 24/7.
Like in their house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one too. Infinite Objects.
Yeah.
Not a searcher though. Another piece of yours.
Do you sell the frame as well, or is that something that they work out themselves?
That's something they just like have figured out themselves, and then it's like, yo, dude, I like put my searcher up on the wall, and it's just like digital frame playing in the background.
How do like when you guys see stuff like that? Like, how does that make you feel when someone's like living with your art in their house and it's just part, or in their office? Like,
oh, it's surreal, man. Like, I still can't get over, like, it still brings a smile to my face every time, like, one of the collectors of my art, whether like a print or like a major piece like that hanging on their wall or something, it's like that's their like personal space, and like that's something they resonate with. It just, it's unreal.
it makes you go back to work and do more, I guess, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Dusko, let's look at how you create the sound behind all of these items, because and this you showing this was kind of the initiation of this conversation. In Solana, Vancouver, we had a meetup, and you came and you showed us this, and I was like, man, that is such a cool thing to understand, because the artistic process is not necessarily it's not something that's often public. People don't necessarily know how you go about creating this kind of stuff, and I think especially with sound, you don't really think about oh, someone had to actually create all of these little noises that you're hearing, and every single one of those things came from somebody doing something. And I think it's really cool that you were able to record kind of how you work with Calder's art and kind of bring life to it. So do you want to explain first and just set up what we're going to watch here?
Yeah. I really wanted to create a sci-fi universe from scratch. And I kept telling myself that, and I kept talking about it, and then it happened. I forgot how we met up.
I remember seeing the NFTs you created. You had released like a reel, and I remember like one of them with like a sword like touching the water or something like that. And then like,
oh yeah, that was parallel NFT.
Yeah. I remember seeing that kind of stuff that you created, and I was like, this guy's a sound effects genius. And like, I think you had played like your sort of like behind the scenes of like all the Folly and stuff that you created for those, and I was like, yeah, we have to like connect. I forget who reached out to who. Like we followed each other and stuff, and
yeah. The first piece I saw of yours was, it was fantasy, and it's the big giant and his skeletons and the people.
Yeah.
That was the first piece I saw, and then the previous In Search Of, I forget what the name of it was, where they're with the bugs and the cryo chambers and stuff. Yeah, so when you're talking about that, I didn't know that was like the first one that you did. That's when I was like, this is the shit.
I mean, what people should know is that you guys have actually never.
I stopped talking about it.
You guys have never met in person until like 20 minutes ago. This is your first time actually seeing each other. And did you know that you actually lived like reasonably close to each other when you connected?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So
especially after like, how do I pay you? And it's like I'm doing Canadian dollars and shit. It's like, oh shit, yeah, no, I'm in Vancouver.
That's great.
It's great because a lot of NFT collabs is like, I've collabed with people from Germany.
Yeah.
Everfresh Design from the States. Some I don't even know where they're from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you met people that you've collabed with, or is that kind of a rare thing as well?
This actually seems like it's a rare thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. I think this is the first time it happened. But this, universe from scratch. We're using all sorts of mics, LOM label, Uzi, which are omnidirectional, high fidelity microphones, and then we got contact microphones, hydrophones. Yeah, it's a lot of experimentation. The whole point of videotaping the process is to be able to utilize spaced repetition to look back on the mic position and the microphone choice while creating the thing.
Oh, so it's you create the video for your own research to look
like
back
a log.
and like a log, yeah.
And it using the spaced repetition makes me more familiar with my microphones and what they were used for. And the whole process is sort of a surprise because I'll be dropping in these channels that I've organized where it's like audio and video, and it'll be like Calder's video on it. So all I'll see is Calder's video, and I'll be dropping in audio that's synced with video of the behind the scenes shots. And then at the very end, once I'm like, okay, it's done, then I'll pull out his video and I'll be able to see the BTS video. So I won't actually know what's going to happen until that final stage. So it's always a surprise.
And how many times would you watch his piece before you would actually like hit the record button and start, crinkling paper and doing all the things you do?
Good question. I don't know. It changes. Sometimes, many times with the most recent one that you saw, I didn't actually like look at the piece much. I just like went straight to it.
But but you have all this stuff you're using. How do you know? Like, you must have to gather things before you actually start recording.
Yeah, throughout the process, I'll like share with him like works in progress and like whips of like what the current, how it's going to be, and like if I like sometimes I'll send him just like a gray screen blast of like the screen playing the animation and not like rendered out and stuff, and then just to give him like head start to build his library or whatever he wants to do for his end.
Yeah, and we'll talk about like what the materials are, what it's made out of, how heavy they are.
How heavy they are.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Like, it's like someone's throwing a chain and you're like, oh, I want this chain to be a heavy chain made of this material or this sound. Are you getting that specific with him? Or are you giving him the creative direction?
Well, I'm giving him the creative direction for his sound, yeah. But
we'll discuss materials.
Yeah, it seems like every piece is like us exploring our craft, and that's one thing I really like about these searchers is like everyone is like entirely unique to us, and like I'm still like diving into tutorials and shit. 15 years in the industry, and just like everyone is just like building up the palette.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I found was like, at least for me, kind of the spirit of making NFT art with different people was always experimenting with something new.
Yeah.
Always a new technique, always just something I hadn't done yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, we get bored.
Of course. Yes. Of course.
Great.
Okay. So let's watch this. This is 3 minutes long. Should we watch the whole thing through, or do you want to stop and talk maybe after a little bit?
That's a good question. It starts with the intro to the whole story, and then it goes into the searchers, and then it goes into the book covers. And the last searcher that you saw with like the skeleton mage with the magic,
Yeah.
that was actually for one of the mythic cover holders.
Okay.
So there was like 10 book covers.
Yeah, we had released a project on Form Function, which like had released like this campaigns thing, which kind of was like a Web3 Kickstarter for the project, and you could have like perks and shit for the tiers that people wanted to support at. And for those tiers, we released book covers for the project, and for like the highest tier, we did 10 one-of-ones, which were all like animated, and he did like a bunch of sounds for. And yeah, that skeleton guy is the first mythic one to be basically airdropped to that supporter.
Okay.
And then yeah, like little under a month after the campaigns tool dropped, Form Function is like, we're closing up shop.
Oh no.
Servers are going down, so like fortunately everything's on the blockchain, so we could migrate over to exchange art, but then kind of lost that nice campaign like wrapping on everything. So we've been in the middle of like building up a Discord server and like website and shit like that for the project.
Oh wow, that's challenging, hey?
Yeah.
Okay, well let's check this out. Tell us.
So you probably recognize the city there,
Yes, I do.
Vancouver. I was rolling around the downtown east side, like at night from parking garages, recording ambience, like people screaming at each other and stuff like that.
Oh, really? You're just like waiting for like someone to freak out and you can capture it?
It was really sketchy. Yeah, really, really sketchy. But that was to get the ambience of like this dystopian sci-fi city that's super rough, right?
Incredible.
Yeah, all of it's pitched down 4 semitones. There's the ambience. Vancouver's downtown east side.
Wow.
4 semitones down. And yeah, so went and did that. We created, no, we didn't create the preview yet. But then after all that recording, I went back to my home in Nanaimo, and I just like locked myself in a dark room for like a month or two or something. And we kept discussing what the story was and what the steps were. And then I was composing for those steps. So it was pretty like intense kind of method composition experience, trying to get that vibe, the downtown east side vibe and emotion and everything that I picked up from there, and then get it to translate through sound, except when he leaves the city. And then due to the isolation and like not much other stimulation, it was like I was on an adventure with him. It was really interesting. And then
It started. Are you okay? Like you can go crazy doing this, or
at the time, yeah. But it's all for the art, right? It's like seeing what different things you can do with your own habits, and then how that translates to the art that's output. Because that's what I feel like being an artist is.
It's like me even just like listening to music and making art, like depending on the music will like have influence on like what I'm creating.
So what kind of music do you listen to? Do you choose a type of music so that you can get a type of art, or is it just
I don't know,
your
I think
playlist
it's like,
happens and
yeah, my brain just like goes through phases, and it's like that happens to be like what type of art I create, what type of art I listen to, and yeah.
What type of music do you listen to?
Basically heaviest metal I could find. Death metal, doom metal, deathcore, yeah,
Okay.
sludge, doom, stoner,
Yeah.
yeah, or it's like even like dubstep or like dungeon synth and stuff like that.
Dungeon synth.
yeah, Dungeon Synth is cool.
I've never heard that before.
Oh, it's so good. It's just like
Is that a band name or is that a style of music?
That's like a style of music, more just like sort of like lo-fi, sort of like RPG feeling music.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you just feel like you're in like a creepy little dungeon, a lot of like sort of like slow, like ambient stuff. And it's just like, I like to like lock into that stuff and just like zone out and work away.
Do you listen to different music depending on what faction of searcher you're working on? Because they have totally different vibes. Like the merchants seem kind of evil, but kind of like
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. For our last couple, I've kind of been going through like the dungeon synth stuff, and like especially with this guy or like some EDM. So I always kind of have like I don't know, a bit of that feel to it, I guess. And then yeah, not really. I can't really remember too much of like what I listened to for each thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Are you a musician? Are you musical?
No.
No.
Just a lover of the craft.
Just like it, yeah. That's fascinating to hear kind of like how this kind of stuff happens. When you're creating one of these characters, are you spending like days on doing this or hours or weeks or?
Yeah, each one takes about 7 days to complete, give or take a couple days for like my just pickiness to the detail and making sure everything is like exactly the way I want.
Wow.
But yeah, it's usually like 5 days to go from like the concept. So like just like either sketch in my sketchbook, or lately I've been just like bringing in the Photoshop so I could get more of an idea of what I want to do for like color palette and stuff, and then have a little bit something for like a teaser for social media.
Yeah.
But
okay, that's amazing.
yeah.
Oh yeah, and the throat singer on there is Bolslaw Ran Rigel.
Is that their name?
Yep, and he was just featured on the Hellblade 2 soundtrack.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. Should we continue on?
Yes, if you want.
Oh, I do. Okay, so when we look at the iron on the blanket, and the orange, what's happening? You're lighting the orange on, or you're burning the orange.
Yeah,
Is that
burning
right?
the orange makes a really good sound. I've used it in the universe. It's going to be the sound of things burning, or at least the underlying thing. So like when he's holding the torch, which you'll see soon in a cave, I utilize that to indicate the actual burning of the wood.
Mm-hmm.
Then the fire is a separate sound.
So where'd you come up with that idea? Is that like a known thing in the audio world, burning oranges?
I don't think so.
I just
did it.
But where does the idea come from? Like, it's so strange to think like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like put a lighter to an orange, and that might get it.
Yep. You just lock yourself in a room and
You just try it out.
Yeah,
see what
fuck around
happens.
and find out, basically,
Right.
with like artist eye.
yeah. And then you can look up things on Reddit, and there's like
Yeah.
the Sound Designer's Bible. I think has some recipes. There isn't a definitive book of recipes though. I shouldn't put that out there. Maybe we should delete it.
There is?
Not that I've seen.
Yeah,
With, like,
maybe you should.
specific recipes for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's delete that.
Okay, this is just so fascinating. I love the creativity. Let's continue on. We got another minute here. Is there anything you want to tell us about that's coming up, or should we just watch it here?
Next up is going to be the book covers. And I think that was the first series we did outside of the initial advert.
Yeah. Yeah, we had actually really released the book covers, and we're like, you know what? These need some sound. So like we went back and added sound to them and like updated the metadata for all of it on the blockchain, which is like another sweet thing that we were able to do. And it's like, it's already in like holders' wallets, and it's like, yo, surprise, we souped up these bad boys.
Oh, cool. So what? So sorry. So people purchased the book covers and then you airdrop them the updated one with sound. Is that what you're saying?
We just literally just updated the one that was already in their wallet.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty
So
cool.
it was like, yeah, surprise. We just like updated your like book cover you're already holding.
Yeah.
It was like a nice thing that we were able to do on the blockchain.
And people are pretty excited about that, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the interesting things you can do with NFTs that you can't do with the other art mediums. I mean, you can do it with video games and people holding on to their digital assets, I think.
Yeah,
I
like
think you
if you
can
open
change a skin that they already own.
cosmetic or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. I love that. Okay, let's look at this. That's so cool. So when we look at this, you've designed something kind of from the ground up. Can't you just buy files for this kind of stuff? Wouldn't that be faster? Wouldn't that be cheaper?
It would be faster. I mean, probably cheaper in the end when you consider time. But I don't know, it's really interesting, intimate connection that you can have with audio. And you're thinking about, what is the sound of this textile? I'll go record a bunch of fabrics. And then I'll be like, it was actually suede that worked the best. Yeah. And then at that point, you're able to then look up suede. It's like, okay, I prefer suede for these things. So if I look into the metadata of a sound bank from like Boom Library as an example, which we saw there with the rat rod that we use for vehicle sounds, then I can just look up suede.
Okay.
Instead of digging through different textiles.
Right.
Yeah.
What you were dipping something in the water? Was that a microphone?
Yep, that was a hydrophone.
Oh, that's a hydrophone. So it's a microphone that can go in the water.
Yep. You get really cool sounds out of that.
What other purposes would that serve? Like, is it just for capturing interesting sounds, or do people wear it as a microphone underwater and try to talk or something?
No, I don't think you talked in it. I think it's just for capturing cool sounds.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's basically like a contact microphone, which people will place on like, a ladder or hollow meadow usually, but it can go underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the process of your guys' kind of partnership, I think, is quite interesting. I don't think we often get to see the behind the scenes of how two guys work together to create such fascinating, kind of weird, interesting, dark, creative stuff that you guys do. But it seems like you really have to get into the mindset. And how has that been? Never meeting each other. You've been able to obviously develop something pretty dynamic, but never actually meeting. And likening this to like a band, like a lot of the success of a band is like you're together, you're building together, you're on a mission together, you're kind of a team of guys who are going to create cool music. But you guys like never met, and you've been able to do something so dynamic. So how has that worked for you guys?
I don't know. Been fine.
we first met with a video call.
Yeah.
And then it was just kind of like talking about what the idea was.
Is it through like, are you calling each other on the phone or FaceTime or
mostly
DMing
just
or
Discord chat?
Really?
Just back and forth for a while, and then
wow.
we both go back into our dungeon.
Yeah. You won't hear from each other for a couple of weeks. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty seamless now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about NFTs briefly. So Calder, as far as NFTs are concerned, something that you've spoken about is that there's like this value in NFTs now that oil paintings had historically, and now you can actually, as an artist, you can actually make a living. Do you see that continuing on in the future? I mean, we're kind of in a bear market for NFTs right now. It's not super strong like it was a couple of years ago, 4 years ago. Do you continue to see a future in this?
In a way, yeah. I think it will come back eventually. I don't know if it'll come back as strong, but I think if it does, it'll be in a different way. Yeah, no, it's honestly like who knows what will happen kind of thing, but yeah.
Do you see things change in trends in art? Like your thing is cool right now. In 5 years, are you going to have to pivot aggressively to keep up with what's happening? Especially looking at, like, you've been an artist for whatever since you were a little kid. Times have changed. So, are you going to have to pivot, or do you see that this is like kind of the projects you're working on now have like longevity into the future to add value?
Yeah, I think I'm like for like the first part of that is like, yeah, I definitely see like trends within like the market. For a while there was like a trend of just like 3D art, and then it kind of went into like, I think like glitch art for a while, where like you see a lot of people collecting, and then it was like photography for a while when like all the photographers kind of went onto the marketplace or whatever. And then it's like abstract art and stuff like that. It kind of like you could see it like go through phases, and like what's on like the homepage of like all the marketplaces and stuff, or like what people are posting they've collected on Twitter and stuff like that. And then for like In Search Of, I'm literally just making it for myself, and what I have found is a lot of the people interested in the project are like, I guess like our demographic, just like other middle-aged dudes. Just like sci-fi / like fantasy stuff where they can like get immersed in, and like,
I mean, they're a good market because middle-aged dudes sometimes have some dollars to spend, and which leads me to another question: like, how much do these things cost? Like, what's the range of price that you're selling these at?
So I've just kind of like doing a bit of like a meta thing where I'll usually mint it for like a couple SOL, and then like let the auction like run its course to wherever it wants to go.
Yeah.
The last one was an airdrop. The one before that I think was like 1,700 Canadian, and then the one before that was like an all-time high of like $5,000 Canadian or something like that.
Yeah, and the one after that didn't get there because the platform messed up.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing about NFTs too, is sometimes people get really lucky. It's like something happens and suddenly you've got this thing with a higher value for way cheaper.
Yeah. Lucky for them, but not for you.
Yeah, not so much, but it's still like, it's kind of the spirit of the market, right?
Yeah.
You have to, like, congratulations. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're a bit down.
I'm getting like DMs, it's like, dude, I've been trying to bid for like the last 15 minutes and it won't go through. It's
right.
It's like I'm stoked with whatever the price is. Like at the end of the day, this project is like my creative outlet, and if people are able to support it, I'm like stoked. But I was more upset with the fact that people who wanted to support my art couldn't. Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
It was a little bit frustrating. And now it's like, I don't know, if we like start to look at the other website that's been like kind of like making its rounds or something like that.
Yeah. All right. So where can people learn about your stuff? To hear more about what you're doing, Dusko, you want to tell us where you can be found?
Twitter. You just saw Twitter. I'm on a lot of my work's on Instagram. It's not updated, but most of it's there.
What's your handles?
Duskosound, at Duskosound on everything.
Excellent.
LinkedIn,
the whole
Twitter,
deal.
Instagram, Facebook.
Awesome. Calder?
Yeah, mainly just Twitter and Instagram, and then I have like my ArtStation account as well. Calder Moore _ I think for most of them.
Yeah.
It might just be for Twitter. If it's not, it's just Calder Moore.
Yeah. we'll put it in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
So people can get connected with you guys. Thanks so much, guys. This was a super interesting conversation. I loved seeing the process or seeing what's happening.
Real quick, Todd McFarlane released on Sol recently. I think it was like a book cover. Yeah, so I'm not sure what's going on if like NFTs are going to be the craze that they were before, where everybody was making money, and then part of the community involvement was, okay, now you made money, so now you're going to support some other artists, and
Right.
that you took your turn.
Yeah.
Now it seems like it's like a revenue stream for anybody with like a following. So you got a huge following because of all the great work you do.
Yes.
And then Todd McFarlane did it, and then recently the person who wrote Snow Crash and some other things is like doing an NFT project.
Neil.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was good to add.
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. No, I love that. That's great. It's been great chatting with you guys. You know, for everybody who's listening and watching, please check these guys out. I mean, Calder, your work is awesome. You got a lot of followers on the platforms, and you've built an amazing community, which is super exciting to see. And I love that you're from here, and I love that you're on Solana. And Dusko, just to see the cool sound design stuff. I still just like, I've watched that video that we showed so many times and showed my kids, and like, hey guys, this is like how things are made, and it's really cool to see the process you guys go
You only
through.
have to like cook one blanket to like.
That ended up being the sound that I've been using for everything.
Just do that. It's yeah, I love that. So I really appreciate you guys being with me here today.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate being here.
Pleasure, man.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, nice meeting you in person.
Yeah. I never again. No.
You'll never see each other after this, but okay.
Hopefully.